Get started.
Might be just far enough away from the sensor. It worked for you a second ago. Just for left. Yeah, you're right. There you go.
Let me know when you want me to start. Shall I start? All right. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you who are in the room and those of you who are joining us remotely, we are so excited to welcome you to our first community forum for our Brockton High School project. I'm Priya Tihiliani, the Superintendent of Schools, and I'm really excited to be a part of this project. It started well before I arrived, and I know there has been a lot of hard work put in by those who came before me, but also by the team on this stage and many of you who are joining us tonight. So thank you so much to our city councilors, our partners at City Hall, our school committee members who I see in the audience as well. I'm excited to announce too, our project managers are here this evening, our architects are here this evening, and I'm also joined by our esteemed mayor as well as our principal, and you're going to be hearing from everyone tonight. So just to give you an update, this is a project that we've been working on for quite some time, and we're excited to have several of these community forums to give you updates over the next few years on where we are in the project. We will also have time not just for the presentation, but also for questions as well. And just again, from the bottom of my heart as an educator, I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. This is an incredible opportunity for our students to get the high school that they truly deserve. And at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Mayor Rodriguez. Appreciate the short jokes.
I didn't do it. Kevin did.
Is that good?
Oh, what are you going to do? Well, good afternoon, everybody. And it's still afternoon. I mean, I can still see outside. It's not that dark. But I just want to, as the doctor said, I want to thank everybody for being here today. This is a very important project for the city of Brockton. This is something that we've been working at for the last 15 years or so, asking the state to come in and be partners with us to help us in this project. I don't know if you know this, but some of us graduated from that high school. And when I got there, it wasn't even a new high school. So, and you look around and you see how old some of us are. That's an old high school. And it's time for us to do what we can to make sure that the children of this city are benefiting from a high school just like the other children in the surrounding communities. We are the only city, first of all, the only city in Plymouth County, but the only city in this area. And if you look around, most of the communities around us have a fairly new school, a fairly new high school. And here we are with a 68-year-old, a high school that was built in 1968. So you look at a high school that's almost 60 years old. So we owe it to the children in this community, but we also owe it to the residents in this community that you do become partners with us as we move forward in this project. We can't do this without the community. We can't do this without everybody buying into this project. Because as I said, we've been working at this for 15 years, asking the state to come in and be partners with us. They finally accepted the offer to join us and help us do this. We can't do it without the state. No matter how you look at it, there's no way we can actually build a high school of this magnitude or redo a high school of this magnitude without the help of the Commonwealth. And if the Commonwealth is willing to help us, it would be almost criminal for us not to do what we need to help our children out. And this is why this is going to be a full frontal assault in this process to make sure that city government, and when I say city government, I'm talking about from the mayor, the city council, the school committees, the appointed folks that we have both on the city side and the school side, even though we have no sides anymore. But this is going to be a joint effort to make sure that everybody is rowing in the same direction to help us get this process done. And we're going to come back. We're going to continue to knock on every door that we need to knock on. We're going to take the show on the road if we need to, through all the middle schools, through all the junior highs, as we used to call them, the high school, the churches in the community, anybody that's out there willing to help us get this project going, because our children deserve this school. So I want to make sure that we spend every single ounce of energy that we have. I am so happy that we ended that school side, city side stuff a long time ago. We just look at one side, and that's the Brockton side, and we're going to work together to make sure that this becomes a reality for all of us in this community. So, is it going to be you, Kevin? So without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to Kevin to go through the presentation for you, because this is the reason why we came to listen to this presentation. And as Dr. T said, we're going to go through some questions and answers. We don't have all the answers yet because this is the initial steps of getting this thing done, but whatever questions we don't have to provide you, we will research it and give you the answers that we have. So Kevin, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Rodriguez. We appreciate your support and leadership. My name is Kevin Sullivan. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'm serving as the owner's project manager from left field. I'm joined by Craig Olson from KBA Architects and Principal McCaskill from Brockton High. We're going to go through a very brief agenda. The first thing we want to do is just talk about process. We're partnering with the MSBA, and we want to also talk about which work has been done to date. We're going to focus on educational visioning, community engagement, and as the mayor indicated, we're also going to open things up at the end for some Q&A. So as you can see, this is our project team. Even though there's just 3 of us on stage right now, this project has dozens of people who have been working on this for well over a year. As you can see, we have a lot of support from the mayor's office. The state delegation is here. I just want to thank State Rep Plouffe for being here tonight. We have city councilors, officials from Brockton Public Schools, school committee members, all of which comprise our school building committee. That's a requirement in the MSBA's process. And I would describe that as a well-represented, well-rounded committee. And I would encourage anyone, if you have questions about this project, here are the people you can ask. You can call my cell phone anytime, but some of these are your peers and your neighbors, so please reach out to them. I also want to encourage folks to attend our school building committee meetings. We've been having them for over a year. They're on Zoom and they're public meetings, so it's a great way to stay up to date with the project. So as most of you are aware, we're working on a high school project in the city of Brockton. And the reason why this is so important is I would describe a once-in-a-generational opportunity to partner with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. I'm going to refer to that entity as the MSBA for the duration of this presentation. And I just want to start talking about what the MSBA is. So the MSBA is essentially a quasi-private public agency that helps support and finance public school construction projects in the Commonwealth. They partner with communities, cities and towns like Brockton to help pay for their projects. Sometimes they're new buildings, sometimes they're addition renovations, and sometimes they're repairs. But they essentially have the money to support major construction projects, and they're they're the biggest partner with Brockton on this project. So every year, the MSBA does about $1 billion a year in school construction. And one of the most common questions I've gotten in my career is, where does the money come from? Right? That's a lot of money. The simple answer is it comes from me, it comes from you all. In Massachusetts, we have a sales tax of 6.25%. 1 penny of the sales tax on every purchase that has a sales tax goes into the MSBA's fund and pays for schools throughout the Commonwealth. So whether you're buying a pack of gum, a sandwich, or a car, you all have been paying into this for decades. And as we see here, I think Mayor Rodriguez had alluded to this. This is just a snapshot of the South Shore, with Brockton right in the middle. Pretty much all of your surrounding communities have new or newly renovated high schools, and they've all benefited in the hundreds of millions of dollars from state funding that you all have been supporting, again, for decades. And Brockton hasn't, for a large-scale project, Brockton has not benefited or been able to take advantage of what I would describe in the hundreds of millions of dollars that's available for state funding. So because we are partnering with the MSBA on this, part of the requirements, you have to go through their process. It's a very comprehensive process. It's time-consuming, and it can take years, which is what we're experiencing right now. So in order to access their funding at the end of the process, we have to go through what we call a feasibility study. So I'm going to discuss what a feasibility study is in more detail in the next couple slides. But we go through this long study, and the goal is to determine what is the most cost-effective, educationally appropriate option long-term for the city of Brockton. So that's our ultimate goal. And so for the past 11 months, maybe a year or so, us as your OPM, your architect, we've been working closely with city officials, school officials, other stakeholders to work through this comprehensive feasibility study. And although the past year has only been the feasibility study, as the mayor indicated, this project has really been in the works for years, for decades. Brockton formally submitted statements of interest to the MSBA in 2020, and they were not invited in. In 21, they were not invited in. And fortunately, in 2022, the MSBA did invite Brockton into their eligibility period. And I would just describe it as a grant program that's incredibly competitive, and only the most urgent and needy schools get invited in. 1 out of 10 or sometimes 1 out of 20 schools get invited in, so it's a very unique opportunity to have the MSBA say, yes, we acknowledge you have an issue that needs to be studied and addressed, and we're willing to partner with you. So City of Brockton was invited into the MSBA in 2022. They went through the eligibility period, and then in June of 2024, they were invited into the phase we're in right now, which is feasibility study. So I know I've used a lot of acronyms and probably some construction terms that might be new to some of you, and I hope that this representation fills in some of the gaps. This is just a high-level outline of the MSBA's process. And as you can see, although we've done a lot of work, we still have a lot of work ahead of us. We're now in Module 3. We're working our way through the feasibility study, and we can continue to do that over the next couple months, and then we would move into schematic design, which is Module 4, but there's still quite a bit of work ahead of us. Just a little more detail related to feasibility study, because we've been working on this for a year, so I've had a lot of people ask, what are you actually doing? So the feasibility study within the MSBA's process, it's broken into 2 parts. The first part, Module A, we call it the PDP, another acronym. It's a preliminary design program. So from last May or so up until January, we've been working with all the stakeholders to review existing conditions, to evaluate site options, to go through educational visioning, and most importantly, to ultimately develop some options, some high-level options that could meet your educational goals, not just for today, but for the next 50 years. So from May to January, we worked on that. Hundreds of documents and pages were submitted to the MSBA in January. We have not received their comments back, but we have moved into the next phase, which is Module 3B. That's the second part of the feasibility study. We call it PSR. It's a preferred schematic report. So starting in February, we continued our work, and we've been meeting every other week as a working group to continue looking at all of these options we have, to discuss educational visioning, to talk about building systems, and really get into some of the budget issues. So the goal of this second phase, Module 3B, the preferred schematic, is to go from having a number of different options, 7, 8, or 9, to really whittle it down to what is the most preferred option for the city of Brockton, what is the most cost-effective, educationally appropriate solution, not just today, but for the long term. This is my last slide, I promise. So what happens beyond this phase we're in right now, feasibility? So we're going to continue to work through that module 3B, the preferred schematic. We started in February, and we have a submission due to the MSBA on April 30th. So we're going to continue to work through that and narrow down our options, and we're going to be continuing to communicate with you all, so we do want to hear your feedback. We're going to submit to MSBA on April 30th, and we would move into the schematic design phase. That's arguably the most robust, comprehensive part of MSBA's process. We'll be working on that from May all the way through October, at which point we will submit our schematic design package, which Craig can talk about a little bit when he's up here, to the MSBA in October, with the hope and goal of having them approve the project in December. And typically the way the process works is that after the MSBA approves it, we would then go to local authorization and approval. So I'm going to turn it over to Craig and look forward to some questions.
I'm going to raise this a little bit. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate everybody having us here tonight. Maybe I won't raise it a little bit. We're excited to have been invited to be part of this team. Castle Boost focuses on K-12 education. We've done it throughout the state. And the experience that we've had working in the city of Brockton has been unique in a good way, very active, both from a city level, from a school, the educators. It's been a very productive, collaborative process that has brought us here. As you can see, the many things that have occurred so far in the feasibility study. And we're going to talk about some of these things tonight. This is the only time you're going to see us up here. We're going to be coming back, and which is why it's number 1. We're going to come back for number 2, probably number 3. As we get more and more information, we want to hear from you as the residents and taxpayers of the city of Brockton to make sure that your voices are heard. We're making sure that the decisions are not made in a vacuum, that they're made with the city of champions in mind, because especially when it comes to a high school, that is the flagship of a community. It is where many memories are made for students. And as we look back and we get into and start to talk about your current high school, and a little bit of what the mayor had mentioned earlier in the history is many people in this room probably went to school in your current building. And it has a lot of stories that it could tell, a lot of history to it, but as part of that is it's become old and tired. And so, as mentioned, it was built in 1968. In 1974, an addition was added, the commissary for the district kitchen. And then there'd been minor replacements and renovations, being window replacement or roof replacement, over the past 30 years. So when you think about that, even on your own house, how much do you have to do to maintain your own house? Is the building is just, it's lived its lifespan, it's done its job. And so when we came in to look at the existing conditions analysis and looked at it, is what we really found as architects and our engineers is it's a very well-maintained building. It's just an old building. It is tired. It's got old finishes in it. The mechanical system's still original to the building. Think like, how often do you replace your furnace? It's sooner than 50 years, as an example. And it was built in a different era. It was when education was different, when buildings were built differently, building codes. And so what we do know is your current building, while it's not a poorly built building, it doesn't meet current code, just because things have evolved over time, whether it's the current building doesn't have a sprinkler system in it, the exterior insulation on the walls don't meet the current energy code, egress, toilets being handicap accessible. When this building was built, there was no such thing as handicap accessible, is the reality of it. So those are things that we're looking at as we're doing this and developing it. And so we looked at it from the whole building as we look at the exterior envelope. The roof doesn't have enough it doesn't have the insulation. It's rusting because of leaking over time. Now it doesn't mean it's not an unsafe building. I want to make that clear as we're talking about this. But it just is stuff that, just like your own house, needs to be maintained and being taken care of because it has aged. It's lived well beyond its useful life. The walls, the windows and doors, again, everything is really beyond its useful life. And you could see that when you just walk around the building and experience the building, that the facilities team at the schools have done a great job maintaining an old building. But as anything, you do need to think about when it's time to move on from it. Even from the building interior, a lot of sagging tiles from age, leaking damage, accordion partitions that don't operate anymore, floors. A lot of the floors are, asbestos was used a lot back then. Again, they're not. It's not that they're unsafe. They've been maintained and they're kept in a safe. But we can look at ways that we can address that as part of this project. And again, when we had our engineers come in, look at the HVAC system, the mechanical system, the electrical system, the plumbing, and the fire protection. These are just a few of the items that they highlighted of just purely because of the age of the building needs to be addressed. And from there, I'm going to turn over to your esteemed principal, Mr. McCaskill.
All right. So just, thank you. First and foremost, good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I know it's snow and it's a little dark. Good evening, everyone. Before I get started, I really have to make a note for our superintendent of schools, Dr. Tahiliani, and our deputy superintendent, Ms. Walder, because their investedness in this project has been tremendous. That doesn't happen on projects like this, and I want to repeat that. Commitment from the top levels of school management. They don't get involved in these projects, so I think that deserves a round of applause. Well, this has been a very interesting and a positive way process, and this has been a total inclusive process. And it wasn't the superintendent of schools, the deputy superintendent of schools, the principal, and a couple of architects and project managers making decisions. This was a community event. Did I go back? There we go. And when you have engagement of stakeholders, of our school staff, and I see one of our school staff members that was involved in this process, Dr. McLaren, our associate principal here, very heavily involved in the focus groups. We had students involved in the focus groups. We had partners such as Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, part of that process as well. There were so many vested individuals in talking about what the possibilities of a new Brockton would look like. And so when you have input from our community, it lends itself to putting a project that's worth bearing. And as the mayor pointed out, don't our students deserve better? And that's got to be more than a head nod. That's got to be, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And throughout this process, the architects and the project manager did they say one shadow day. It seemed like it was about 101 shadow days. But they were really doing their fine-tooth work, really looking at that school. And when you look at a school that has served its time, and we heard the mayor talking about it, we heard Kevin say it, and also Craig, it's time. We are educating students in a building that wasn't built for the 21st century. There's such a lack of flexibility of learning that we are putting our students behind the 8 ball. And it's not only the neighboring communities that have benefited, it's the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts that is benefiting and we aren't. It's all of New England that is benefiting and we aren't. And our students are in competition with these individuals. So why would we not want to put them in classrooms that are flexible and maximize learning opportunities, classrooms that hit the mark with technology? That's what this project is all about, preparing students for the next realm, preparing students for a life after high school. And for the mayor and our city government folks, preparing some future taxpayers to really help the economic boom here in the city of Brockton. And so we had some guiding educational goals, and you can see up here we have building a school that serves the heart of the community. As we all know, it's no big secret. This high school is the heart of the city. And I don't think I'm saying anything blasphemous when I say that. A balance of safety and wellness of peace. Coming into the new school, obviously bells and whistles are important, but more than the bells and whistles, it's arming our students with everything they need for success in the future, in a safe environment, in an esoteric environment that really is conducive to positive outcomes. Connect learning to the real world, and I'll say a little bit more about that when we get to the career technical education piece. Lead with innovation and imagination. Who could imagine a new Brockton High School back in 1988? Well, first of all, the city has some precedent with that. How many schools were built in the 70s with a planetarium? So that means somebody had innovation in the foresight going forward. We need to have that same mindset now. Design and flow, flexibility and function. Well, we got a lot of Brockton High School alumni here tonight. Those are little goat paths or the hallways, aren't they? You have to, yeah, between the core, everybody starts spinning around like with the Port Authority in New York. See, we've got to widen it for better flexibility and efficiency when students, so now they have no excuse for being late to class. Honor the community, excuse me, in school history and cultivate belonging and shared pride. And we've got that right now. But think about with a new building that will be the crown jewel of this city. And lastly, reflect and celebrate diversity. It's one of the most diverse communities you're going to see in Massachusetts. You look out here in the crowd tonight, and you can see that. And that's what we want to celebrate. And so we have two pictures. Mayor Rodriguez, this is how we went to school, wasn't it? Me and you the same age. Oh, we didn't have any book, or we had tablets, right? But some of our classrooms still look like that in 2026 with blackboards. Brockton is still buying chalk in 2026. But now when you move to the right, look at that classroom, the efficiency and what it looks like. Doesn't that look like an office? Doesn't that look like a room at a college or a university? That's where we want to be with our students. And one of the things we have been planning currently at Brockton High is to increase our footprint with career technical education. Career technical education is the hottest ticket going, and it will continue to be the hottest ticket going in education. And we are woefully deficient at Brockton High School. I look at our school down in Attleboro High School in Attleboro, Mass., and they're a comprehensive school similar to us. They've got how many CTE programs? 19 CTE programs. We got 5. And I believe we're about 1,500 students and more than they are. And so we need to have an educational approach that addresses preparation for students for life after high school. And career technical education is that ticket. And so with our current 5 programs, our certified programs of health assisting, carpentry, auto tech, graphics, and culinary arts, we also add on what we call innovative career pathways of computer science, business, and I'm missing two, clean energy and environmental science. That gets us to 9, but only 5 certified programs. Now, we are currently, and the superintendent and the deputy superintendent have signed off of our inclusion of electrical and multimedia broadcasting coming on board for next year. But we need additional programs because we have talent in that building. I want to say that one more time. We have talent in that building. And think about when you have talented individuals who are giving the tools for success while they're in high school, now they are prepared to meet all the challenges coming before them after graduation. So we have our existing programs. We listed the 2 that we're having. In the future programs, we're looking at HVAC, facilities management, and robotics and animation. And also, there's more to come from there. But career technical education is going to be a priority at Brockton High School. And we are so fortunate to have the support of our school, the school department, as well as the city. And some of the things with CTE and what are the accomplishments for our post-secondary pathways, a majority of graduates pursue 2- and 4-year colleges and universities. A significant number enter the workforce, including healthcare, public service, and the trades. Think about it. Students can actually go from high school into the world of work and literally make more money than a 1st or 2nd year teacher who has got a degree. And fantastic. Some graduates our graduates do enlist in the military, but again, creating a more diversified military person. And also we have students that others will pursue career training programs with certifications and also gap year opportunities. Work-based learning, career exposure. Students participate in internships, job shadowing, and career exploration. Partnerships with local hospitals, businesses, higher education institutions, and community organizations, as well as career pathways aligned to healthcare, IT, business, education, and the skilled trades. This is it. This is an easy sell, folks, and I'm not trying to minimize it. As we have said time and time again tonight, our students are worth it. They're worth the investment. That school is worth the investment. And we've got some dedicated individuals on not only this project in this room here at that high school at 470 Forest Avenue, as well as this city. No one should be leaving us behind. No one should be leaving us behind. Let's take advantage of this opportunity. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin, folks. Thank you for your time. For Craig.
Thanks, Principal McCaskill. So I have the privilege of following him now. And with the passion that you saw up here is what we see working with him every day. You're very lucky to have him as your principal and representing your school. So I'm not kidding when I say that is a very tough act to follow, as I have to do what I have to talk about now. But I'm going to bring a little bit of what he said, and what we're showing up here is some early diagrams that as we think about what a utopian school for Brockton would look like. This isn't an Anywhere USA school, this is a Brockton High School. And we start big picture at 10,000 feet and think about, okay, the performing arts, athletics, maintaining the 4 academic house structure that you have now, that's been very important through the process. But then what is the fiber that ties everything together? And that would be the media center. The media centers of today are very different from the media centers of even when I was a kid, when everybody in here was a kid. They're more about a collaborative environment bringing everything together. So we're looking at what's the media center as a true hub of the building as we start to think about what the building is. And these diagrams can be applied to a new building, to renovating your existing building. It's about creating a utopia for what Brockton High School could be. And then we take it and we start to zoom in a little bit and start to analyze of, okay, how do we start to integrate CTE that Principal McCaskill talked about? And he isn't joking when CTE is really the cornerstone of where a lot of education is going. He mentioned Attleboro, which opened a couple years ago. That started off with, I believe it was 12 programs and expanded to 19. Not only that, it's one of those things, if you build it, they will come. And they were at, I can't remember, like a 30% enrollment in CTE programs, and they're at almost 90% now of their students enrolled in CTE. That is a huge jump, and what it does is it gives the kids an upper hand, number one, to go out into the workforce, because they're going to come out with training, certifications, and they don't come out with huge college debt. I wish I had that opportunity, to be honest with you, as well. But it also allows them to stay home. You're educating for the future of Brockton. You're educating to have people stay and be contributing members to the society of the city of Brockton and be the future of. This is a once in a lifetime, as was said earlier, opportunity. This is a one bite at the apple with the MSBA grant process. As Kevin mentioned a little bit, is we have to go through this process, we have to find the right solution, and we need everybody to, and it has to be a solution that everybody agrees upon, because we have one bite at the apple here to do it right and get the funding. Because if we don't, then Brockton goes to the back of the line again. So that's something to be thinking about as we're doing it. So that's why it's important, why we're doing these things here tonight, is to hear from people, to make sure that what we do is the right thing for the city of Brockton. And so some of these, it's a little bit blurry, so it's tough for people to see, and you'll see it, and we'll talk about it more, and actually in a future public community forum, as we start to look at the concepts more about how education can evolve based on how the building is organized. And so that's just the step. And so our next public forum, community forum, is we're going to be talking about the concepts and different ideas that we've been working with on the district. We had a marathon meeting yesterday, another marathon meeting today, really talking about what types of spaces should be in the school, how big they should be, and really intricate details. But I want to take a step back and talk about site development. And so as part of this is we want to analyze and look at the city of Brockton As any feasibility study is you want to explore all the options, leave no stone unturned. And so in this, part of what we want to do is look at, okay, there's the existing high school site. Is there another site that might be more advantageous if we were to build a new building? And so we went through that exploration. And we did a process, we developed a 5-step process of establishing criteria that would be needed, identify sites in the city that would meet that criteria, and work our way down. So it's an iterative process. And so what we want to do is graphically show how that process and where we ended up through that analysis. Step 1 is we had to establish criteria. Through this, we established 3 main criteria. The first criteria is, number 1, you need buildable land to put a school on. And to put on a school for the city of Brockton, it requires a good amount of land. And so what we did is we set 2 criteria, 25 acres, which would be the size to build a school building on, tennis courts and parking, with the idea that Marciano Stadium and, baseball. Campanelli Stadium would remain in place for the sports. Or 44 acres, which would be an all-in if you had to build all new complex. Criteria number 2, we wanted to place a priority for city-owned property because if it's not owned by the city, the cost to buy a large property is 100% on the taxpayers. That is not a reimbursable item. And as one of the things that has been very clear, and we've heard through the process through your legislatures, your city officials, through the district school officials, is we want to maximize that MSBA reimbursement. We want to get the most bang for your buck on this project. And so every decision as we talk about, as Kevin mentioned, is number 1, finding the most fiscally responsible and educationally appropriate. It's finding those 2 together, but fiscally responsible is a very important aspect of it. It's important to note it's not always the cheapest, but it's the fiscally responsible decision. And so as we're looking at that, and then it also delays, if you had to purchase property, that would delay the timeline. And cost of construction, if everybody looks around, buying eggs isn't getting any cheaper, neither is construction. So the sooner you can build, the more cost effective it's going to be. And then finally, as we looked at its location, you have some great sports facilities between Campanelli Stadium and Marciano Stadium. You have premier facilities in the state. Your students have an opportunity that I would have killed for to play in one of those facilities when I was in high school. And so we want to make sure that we get the opportunity of that because costs to travel kids from the facilities so those are the 3 main criteria. So as we looked at, we said, okay, let's identify. So we looked at, and what you're seeing up here is sites that are in the dark red is your existing high school site. This is a map of Brockton. It's kind of a little bit lost and faded if you can't tell, but what you'll see here is Belmont Street, Route 24, and so the existing high school, and sites located in the pink color are 44 acre plus sites, and sites in the gray are 25 to 45 acre sites. And so again, we went through a little bit of why we selected those, and then we have to take and look at is, okay, how much of that land is actually buildable? There's wetlands, there's cemeteries, there's that. So as we look at that, it really limited it down to 4 key sites that actually could fit a school for Brockton High School on it. So that was, then let's look, okay, what does the city own? And so when we're looking at that, the site you have on the north is the golf course. The site that's to the west is Stone Farm, right? Yep, Stone Farms. And then the high school, and what you see disappear is the fairgrounds because the city doesn't own that property. So if we were to put a building on the fairgrounds, it would delay the project and it would be 100% cost borne by the city, which unreimbursable. So again, that would impact your taxes. So as we look at it, as we mentioned, I got Plain Street down here, which is it's located off the beaten path. It's not an ideal site because of where it's located. It's very odd in shape to try to fit a school on. You have Stone Farm, which is protected land, and then the golf course, which is on the very northern edge of the property. So that if we built a school up there, that means students from the south end of Brockton will have to go all the way across the city, be bused across all the way across the city, every day and come back. So what that shows, what you really see is your current high school site is the most advantageous site because it's centrally located in the school, it's large enough, it's adjacent to your existing sports facilities, and the city already owns that property. So there is absolutely no cost to build a building on your existing site. And so what that means, and when we talk about this is if we did a new building. If we renovated a building, obviously we're going to be renovating your existing school. Nothing has been determined at this point. We're still exploring what the very options are on that. So we just wanted to kind of explain how we landed at when we presented our next community forum, why we're looking at just solutions on the existing high school site. And from there, to bring it home, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sullivan.
Thanks, Craig. So in addition to finding the most educationally appropriate, fiscally conservative project or cost-effective project, we agree as a project team the most important factor here is transparency and community outreach. So yes, we're here tonight doing a larger community forum, and we'll continue to do many over the summer, into the fall, and even through next winter to hopefully push this project forward. But we've also learned, and we've made a promise to meet people where they are. So whether it's one person at a coffee shop or 200 people at a senior center, we are here. We will meet anyone, anywhere, anytime to talk about this project and answer questions. We've already begun meeting with some of the stakeholders in the community, as you can see up here. But really just want to, and as you can see on March 25th, we have another, it's a ward/school committee meeting, I believe, at the Baker Elementary School. March 25th, 6:30 p.m. You know, we hope to see some people there as well. And that really does highlight, this project is for everyone. You know, this is for, if you know someone who is affiliated with a group in town and they want to hear from us, please reach out, we will go. If you are an elementary school or a preschool parent, this project is for you, and we really want to hear from you. So there's a project website, there's a QR code here. The website is multilingual. You have the opportunity to get project updates and reach out to us to let us know where you want us to go. But two more items. We have a couple more events in April and May related to career fair. So if there's any event that folks want us at, we will go. Please let us know. And I think that is the last one. We're going to turn it over and do some questions and answers. I think we're going to start with the folks in the audience. Thank you.
So one thing just to add to what Kevin had said is on that project website there is a Q&A section, so there's a way to ask questions through that as well if you want to. If you think of something, like, as we all do, after you walk out of the room, oh, I should have asked that. There's an opportunity to ask that and give feedback as well on the website. And then this presentation will also be made available so that people can see this presentation and gather information. We want to make sure that everybody has the facts and understands, so that when it comes time, that everybody understands what the project is about and what it's here for and what it's going to do for the city of Brockton. So we have our moderator, Francois, who will be helping take questions if there are any.
Also, for those of you who are online who have questions, we will also be calling you up from online as well. So we'll take 2 questions up here and 2 questions online in order to help, facilitate this in an equitable way. Thank you.
Ready for me to ask my question?
Yes, sir.
I heard somewhere that if they were going to renovate the school, I heard they were going to add on to it, add a new STEM well building. I think it's going to be going like behind Fine Arts or something. Is that like kind of part of one of the possible plans?
Yes. Yeah, that is something we're looking at. As part of the exploration and the concepts is we're looking at ways we can do light renovations to the building, or I should say major renovations to the existing building with minor additions. We're looking at major additions with minor renovations, meaning renovating the performing arts building or the athletic building and redoing the academic wing. And we're looking at all new. But yes, we're looking at different ways where we could do. And part of this is, again, we're looking at what's the most educationally appropriate from an organization as we look back to the bubble diagrams and what was happened and what we heard during the educational visioning. And so we are looking as part of the career expansion. I think that's what you were asking too, is a lot of those.
Lowell's High School did. That's what Lowell's High School did. They added on to it, renovated it.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Rivas. I was on the school committee about 2 years ago, so this is exciting because we were talking about it then. And finally to see it through, to be here presented is pretty cool. However, I do have some questions specifically about innovation, because you guys talked about how the education visioning and program is to have that innovation part. And as we know, kids need smaller classes, and we aren't getting smaller classes. So the pictures that I saw showed more of a Socratic dialogue, which is amazing, right? So in order to prepare kids for post-graduation, we want them to start being in those conference rooms before they're in the conference rooms, right? So I guess my question is, how are the classes going to be built so we can have smaller ratio classes and also have more vocational opportunities?
And one of the things, we've actually started that work already. And I think with the advent of dual enrollment in early college, of getting students out of the building to lessen our footprint, so that's one way, as well as from the CTE side of the house, with internships, co-op opportunities, as well as other work-based learning opportunities, it lowers the footprint by getting students out and about to doing the things they need to do to advance. So that work is currently happening, which reduces our classroom sizes as well. But going forward, well, one of the things, these classes that we currently have weren't built for people back in 1988. So, they weren't conducive to 44 in a classroom. I think Brockton, before I've gotten there, has done that. Now, some classes we do, they're oversubscribed. But when you look at the footprint of our school right now, you don't see the overcrowded classrooms. You're only seeing anywhere from 20 to 25, 26 students in the classroom. So that work will continue before the new building project is even completed. So that's the work we really have to start doing right now and continue doing. From the career technical education perspective, as we indicated, adding more programs. Adding more programs, and that's something that we have done. Brockton High, again, prior to me coming on with the innovation career pathways, adding 4 more programs for students to partake in. We are going to look at adding 2 programs per year over the next 3 years. And so we are really looking to really make our mark in the Commonwealth of students getting viable training to make their mark in the world. So again, we don't wait for a new building for that to happen. That work starts today.
Awesome. I'd like to hear that. However, when I was able to introduce students, and I hope to still do that work, because I think obviously we got to keep our students and our families in the core.
Absolutely.
Right? But when I introduce students, a lot of them, when they talked about their career path to me, they talked about the 8 IB classes. Are those still existing, and are we going to get more? Granted, I get it, like facilities is one part, but it's great to have a great building, but what's important is the quality of education in that building. So this is why I asked these specific questions.
Placement and international baccalaureate program is strong and vigorous at Brockton High School. That will continue to go on and look to enhance itself as well. So they are still there. All right.
And then lastly, pushing safe learning environments to make sure that we're really all diverse learners. As we know, mental health is a big thing nowadays. I know a lot of kids getting back surveys are really struggling with mental health. How is that going to be part? If that's facility-based or just support-based, how are we looking at that in regards to vision and connecting into the strategic plan?
Mental health, we're talking about social emotional learning and social emotional development. That is something that we're looking to embed in all our classrooms. That should not be a particular program or something that's off to the side. That should be part of practice each and every day at every single classroom. And that's something that we have committed to. And I think we have a great program here led by John Snellgrove here in the district. But that has gotten into our school with our teachers, from our administrators to our department chairs, our coordinators, right into our teachers. And that's something as easy as looking at a student coming in, they're a little off center. Well, I've got something to do here. Let me see what I can do for this student. Recognizing certain points of having that recognition skill is important. So that's something that's part of our DNA at Brockton High School. Now, we've got work to do. We've got work to do with it when you're going to school the size of ours, but we will continue to strive to make sure that is, because we cannot have students walking around schools, hundreds of them, not one or two, hundreds, when they're not in the right frame of mind because of circumstances outside of school or personal things that are going on. We've got to meet those needs, and we plan on meeting those needs. And I say this, and I don't say it tongue-in-cheek. We are here to meet the need of every, and I want to repeat that word, every single student that walks through that building, no matter who they are or who their parents are, we're there to meet their needs.
I do just want to build on something the principal mentioned, and it's important because as we fielded that question, we asked Principal McCaskill to answer it first, because as we've talked about the development of this project, it's about education first. It's about education driving the building and what direction we're going in, not the other way around, where the building or the microphone stand is driving how things go. So that's a big thing, and why is that? And is that point of even as we're looking at it and as it applies to building, I'm going to put my architect hat on and answer that question from the building standpoint. Not only am I an architect, but I'm also an educational planner as we work on that. And so we're looking at providing a variety of types of spaces, flexibility, and being sensitive to every unique individual, creating a truly universal building so that every learner, every student, every person, whether they're even a student, enters the building, feels comfortable as their place in their home.
The volume somewhat. You made reference to the fact that, first and foremost, the community is the most important aspect of what we're doing here this evening, yes? I mean, the building of a new school is a wonderful project, but if the community itself is not being built to rise up to a level in which we can all benefit from, then we're just putting up a new building. So, based on what you just said, Principal Castle, Kevin, as I call you, when we talk about basketball games. But what we're looking at, or what my understanding is, we're also encouraging input in terms of what we're bringing in and how we're bringing the level of education into the school. Am I correct in picking up on that?
Yes.
Because you made reference to, the gentleman made reference to the number, the 100 to 200 that could just be walking around, not knowing what they need to do. Then maybe if we're having a greater emphasis on what we can do to bring something to school that I think makes it work a little bit better. If you're happy about coming to school, if there's something that makes you excited about coming to school, then it's easier to go to school. And if we have a program that is maybe in the school that is combining mental health and also reaching out into the home, going and knocking on the doors and sitting down with the parents that cannot make it to the school for whatever reason. I mean, I was listening to NPR today, and I'm hearing about youngsters going to court by themselves because of ICE
And it just frightens me that we might have some of those situations where parents are afraid to come outside because maybe they don't want to be taken away from their family. But if we have a program, and the only reason I say we have a program, because I have a program that I've tried to introduce into the school system called CAT, Critical Analytical Thinking, which comes also from an Air Force program, Critical Analytical Thinking, that ties in learning, art, mental health, and music. So maybe every student coming to school that day might get a little something that he wants, that motivates him to come back to school, and maybe to bring somebody else with him who's hanging out in the parking lot, who's smoking a blunt, and say, I don't need to go to school, so I can get my buzz on, but why don't you come on in and see what we have? And with the CTE programs, well, I mean, we got Southeastern who's just upgrading on a regular basis. We got down in Attleboro, Abington, all schools that are upgrading. And if we're going to do that, then maybe we can start by refunding the libraries in the school buildings, which was on the front page of today's Enterprise, that they're taking away and doing away with the libraries. No, it's not. And I think one of the responses was, well, they're old books. Well, maybe we should be reaching out to book vendors to send us new books so we can keep the libraries open as we build a new school on top of that, but to build a foundation that we can work from right here and now, not based on a hypothetical maybe, a hypothetical rebuilding maybe. Let's build now on the foundation that we have, and we can look at the future tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question online. The question reads, how will the chosen energy system lower the school's long-term operating costs so that more of the budget can go towards teachers, programs, and student support instead of utility bills?
That's a great question. And to be honest, we're not ready to answer that yet because we haven't really got into that. We're still talking at a high level. We haven't drilled down to the details of what the building systems and energy efficiency will be. It's more really now we've been focusing on the education and finding and figuring out the organization of the building that will support that. So the person that asked that question, I commend you, and I think it's a great question. And hopefully we'll answer it in a future community forum, whether it's the next one or the one after. And if we don't, make sure you ask it again so that we do give appropriate answer for it.
Hello, my name is Ida Starlight. My question is there a plan on what you're going to do with the students during the construction? And then the other thing is that like any construction, things change throughout. Is there and will there be an opportunity for parents to be a part of the conversations throughout the entire process, particularly the ones who have children in the elementary school, because this isn't going to be for the high school parents or the middle school, it's going to be for the elementary and the future parents. So just wondering those two things, what's happening with the students during construction, and will there be opportunity for parents to be a part of the entire process?
Thank you for your thoughtful question. I'll start, and then if you guys want to add on to that, is yes, that is an important thing. First, we'll talk to answer your first one about the impact on students now during construction. That's something that we're talking about as part of as we develop the concept, is the impact on students. And even as we get into the concepts, the duration, because building a building of this size takes multiple years. It could be from 4 years, 5 years, up to 10 years, depending on what solution gets selected. That's 1 high school career, 2 high school careers, of 4 years of students. So they have one time that they're in high school too, and we can't forget that and the impact that it's going to have them, not only on their experiences, so making sure that we're considering how we manage the current facilities, whether it's athletics, the performing arts, the athletic, I mentioned athletics already, but just that, as well as the learning environment. Noise, construction causes noise, the disruptions to the classroom. Those are all things that we're looking at as part of this, and as part is finding the right solution, because that is something that needs to be considered of how its impact on students. As part of that too is career tech education. Looking at that is there's opportunities as part of this project to integrate the students into that. They get an opportunity that other kids couldn't as we work on this project. Kids from the carpentry program could be out working, shadowing with the construction workers during the day, as part of the class. They're going to get unique opportunities that students normally wouldn't get. So there's also opportunities like that and partnerships that we can develop as we look and work to develop the building more. And the second part is your question is elementary schools. You're spot on, and we were talking about that before here. This project, the biggest impact right now is the kids that are in elementary school right now, and making sure that. And so we're here listening tonight. As Kevin mentioned, we have working group meetings every other week. We also have the building committee meetings every month. Those are open meetings, they're posted meetings, and at every meeting they allow opportunities for public comment and questions. So we encourage people to go out, and that is not only as the mayor said, we're going to take the show on the road and give everybody a chance to ask their question, whether it's tonight, whether it's at a church, whether it's at a spaghetti dinner, that we're going to be there to make sure we hear, because it's important to hear everybody's, because we are just the vessel of hearing everybody to create the solution, and working with your team is we need to hear everybody's thoughts. Otherwise, it's just creating another school. It's not creating a school for Brockton.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Gurley. My question doesn't have to do with any of the process. It has to do with, as a taxpayer here, that 20% that the state of Massachusetts is not going to be putting is a lot of money that's going to end up in my lap, and however many taxpayers there are to be divided upon. I know this is early in the conversation, but you guys are moving ahead with a project that ultimately I'm going to have to pay for. So, have you thought about that?
I want to pay for this school.
Right.
So it's a really important question, and it's one we get in every community. And right now, we know times are tough, costs are up, people are struggling, so we don't take that lightly, which is why we don't only need to find the most educationally appropriate. We are also looking at what is the most cost-effective solution. This is something we talk about at every single meeting. It's a balance of trying to be forward-thinking for the students of Brockton, but also be aware that someone has to pay for that. So that is definitely part of the conversations. We don't know how much the project's going to cost. We won't really know for a couple months. We will continue to update you on that. We really won't know what impact it will have to Brockton until we know how much the state's going to get us. We hear you loud and clear. What I will say is the cost of this project, there will never be a cheaper time to do this project. The cost of construction, because of inflation and escalation, will continue to go up. And maybe more importantly, the risk of trying to do this, whether it's 2 years or 5 years from now, without the MSBA, would be a tax impact 3 to 4 times what this project may be. But I appreciate your question. I'll give you my cell phone, and I want to continue this dialogue.
Hi, my name is Eliza Wilson, and I'm the mom of a Brockton High graduate, class of 2040. I have a 4-year-old daughter, so thank you for thinking of that, and thank you for that question on how we pay for it. And when you mentioned really focusing on our technical education and the fact that we would be able, I saw it in the slide, but I'd like everyone to hear more about that Chapter 74 money, because by making the opportunities in technical education and trade education to prepare our students post-high school, we're becoming a destination school whereby we're able to collect money that we don't even get now. And we also, by increasing our focus on trade and technical education, we're able to recapture some of those monies that are going out of the district that we're already paying. So I just think that's a really great focus to keep on. And if you could say more, Principal, about Chapter 74 money, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And what Ms. Wilson was talking about, Chapter 74, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education defines Chapter 74 as certified career technical education programs. And they are primarily found in our regional VOTECs, like your Southeasterns, like your South Shores and such, and your city-run, like Madison Park in Boston, Worcester Tech in Worcester, and Putnam Vocational in Springfield. Now, there is a differential of per pupil allocation for funds. Career technical education students get more. They get more, 5 times the amount that a general education student does. So when we start thinking about, and I heard Southeastern put on there, 250 to 300 students, and my numbers may be a little off, just a little off, we send in perpetuity out of the district at a cost to Brockton taxpayers. Think about if we can start recapturing some of those students and those dollars in certified Chapter 74 programs, which literally pay for themselves, while also training these individuals for industry standard positions who will buy homes here in Brockton, who will pay taxes here in Brockton, and set up shop, and so their siblings, their youngsters will go to school here in Brockton to repeat that positive process. That's why it's so important that we keep our foot on the pedal about career technical education and getting these programs. Now, granted, we are really we don't have space currently. And that's why a project such as this increases our footprint with that. So that's why Chapter 74 and us going Chapter 74 to emphasize the trades, to emphasize healthcare, to emphasize STEM and technology. Very, very important to our school community.
Great, thank you for that. We have another question online, and this one's directed for the mayor. So we probably will need to answer it from here. The question is, as we consider this renovation or rebuild of the high school, how is adjacent planning being considered for the area beyond the fairgrounds? For example, the West Side Library lacks visibility and appearance, is not inviting or attractive. The facility should be a magnet for our students, yet it does not seem to be. Can we consider envisioning what surrounds the high school, i.e. less smoke shops? There is one within 600 feet of the high school entrance from Forest Ave.
Well, should I say the answer is yes? Because I think it's very simple. It's the old broken glass theory. When you look at it, you've got an old high school, not very attractive, not very welcoming. We spend the resources that we're planning on spending in this particular school. I think the whole neighborhood will change. And it's up to us, elected leaders in this community, to make sure that the surroundings of this school becomes a little more inviting. We spend a little too much sometimes chasing the old dollars. You know, anybody that wants to throw a smoke shop or a fast food place, sometimes that's all that we see. But at the same time, if we have a beautiful facility that is very inviting, it's easy to say no to some of those quick bucks in a sense and settle for something that's more decent. So I think it's a great question, but it's one of those things. We got to build it first. And once we build it, then it will allow us to do the things that we need to do. I also want to just touch a little bit about what Pam Curley actually was asking in terms of the impact that this project will have on the taxpayers of this community. We're not at that level yet in terms of knowing exactly what it's going to cost. It's going to cost monies one way or the other to the taxpayers, either through the city budget that already exists. But one thing that we need to rest assured is that we are doing every single thing that we can to minimize the blow that this thing is going to affect the community. So it might mean, instead of going out to the community and asking for an override of 2.5, which I'm against, to be honest with you, But it might be something asking for a debt exclusion for a couple of years, until the city gets hold of its finances. We have some obligations that will be dying off soon after we get to this level, that we will be able to basically include the funding of this new school within the finances of the city itself without costing the taxpayers any additional money. But we are in that beginning process that we have to seriously look at where we're at, what it's going to cost us, what we're going to get reimbursed before we can actually do this. And believe it or not, there's a lot of us that are good beggars, and we're going to go out there and beg for whatever dollars and cents that we can get from whoever out there wants to help us in this process. But we're going to do that because I too am a taxpayer, and I don't have any children, but I have grandkids in the school system. And these little kids are going to be going to this high school. So it's personal to me to make sure that I do whatever I can within my powers to see this high school build, but also to minimize what it's going to end up costing the taxpayers of this community.
So my worry is that
Can you speak right into the mic?
all this focus on technology is actually going to make our students dumber. There's actually a study that states, it's titled "A Pen is Mightier Than a Keyboard: The Effects of Longhand Writing versus Laptop Note-Taking." While both sides could actually recall information, the longhand writing can actually conceptualize the information. I'm worried that this focus on the future is going to essentially disadvantage our students with all this technology.
One of the things, with technology does not substitute for communication and interpersonal skills, first and foremost. So when you're talking about handwriting and such, that horse was out of the barn about 25, 30 years ago. But the most important piece, and you said something just very poignant, very profound, is the folks not forgetting the foundation and the fundamentals. And the fundamentals start with communication and interpersonal skills. That's one thing we can never, ever lose. So our dependency on technology is for the task at hand. Further learning, further skill development as such. But it will not be, and that's something that we have prided ourselves at Brockton High, it does not substitute for interpersonal relationships with individuals. And that's something that will continue to be a staple at our school. But thank you for remembering about the foundation and the fundamentals. I appreciate that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tobias Collins. I'm the Chief of Staff of Senator Brady, but I came to the mic to speak from a safety perspective. I'm the former Emergency Management Safety Director for Brockton Public Schools, covering all 20 sites. I plan to come tonight and simply be a sponge. But in whatever development that takes place, I just want to ask you to put a push pin when it comes to safety. It's equally important as education as the safety of the students. Right now, there's a very small vestibule at the high school. I don't know if most of you know, but in the event that there's a fire in fine arts or a fire drill in fine arts, the whole campus has to evacuate. So you now have 4,000 students all leaving the building at the same time. So when it comes to the redesigning, there's there's a framework for building schools with a safety component, whether it's safety glass, exits. So please keep safety as a push pin as you move forward. Thank you.
Right, another question came in online. Question reads, doesn't the Fed have funding to increase the trade schools at the moment? Have we investigated what funding the federal government can provide on this?
Real quick, work in progress. We're exploring any and all opportunities to gain funding. If it's local, state, or federal, we are actively involved and engaged in those opportunities to get more funding.
pressure now on city councilor at large and the great city of Champions. And I know there's going to be a lot of, talk about different things, but I went to the high school almost 20 years ago. So, and again, I ran my campaign on a picture, that picture you see. There's no way that my future kids should not see the same picture 20 years later. So I'm a big advocate of this new endeavor, and I really want to tell the taxpayers, the people in the room, the people of our city, that this is the single biggest investment that we can make for the future of everything. The future of our infrastructure, our children, just about everything we think about, our property values, everything will revolve around this endeavor. But I do also want to just leave is that, the school is more than 60 years, almost 60 years old. The materials that were used then, I'm sure we're not using them now. I understand that the school is what we deem safe, but I mean, in reality, how safe is something that is covered in asbestos, that is maybe moldy because the roof's leaking, that may be, not ADA compliant? Like, really, how safe is it for our children? I understand that, I went there, I went through the hallways, and I was fine, but I just want, the public and the people to realize that, yeah, safety's in the eye of the beholder, but, we can make this a project where we bring our students to the 21st century. I know a gentleman said that, technology, is erasing, some of these outcomes, but these new schools have developed better outcomes for the people that have gone to them. So I just want the public to really understand that this investment is for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we bring the evening to kind of a close, we thank everybody for their questions and their feedback. As we mentioned, there's other ways to reach out after this, but I do want to say one thing that hasn't been said tonight, and I think it's powerful as we talk about your existing building, your current building, and why we're here tonight and what we're doing. And one of the first things I heard Principal McCaskill say when I met him when we started this project is, back in the 60s, when your current high school was built, it was state-of-the-art. And decisions were made when they built the building that you have now, that we're telling is old and tired, helped the trajectory for generations of Brockton students and we can't forget that, because that's what we're talking about right now. An opportunity, a chance to rethink and re-establish Brockton as that pinnacle premier city and project, and that's what this project can do if we do it right. And that was the challenge he gave to us when we first sat down with him. So I think as we think through this, those are things that we're remembering. And like I said, you're very lucky to have him as your principal, and he's been a great leader and champion for this project as we go through.
Unless there are any questions, I think we're going to shut it down. We really appreciate everyone being here. Two things. I just wanted to remind everyone we do have monthly school building committee meetings. These are public meetings that are posted on the city website. We want you to attend. We want to hear your questions and your concerns, so please attend if you can. I also wanted to give a shout out to Brockton Community Access TV. They've been a great partner. They are recording this, and it's being translated in 4 languages and will be distributed in coming days and weeks. So thank you everyone for being here. Yes. I lied. And thank you to all the translators. We really appreciate your support.
I was just told that everybody could come up front so we can take one group picture of everybody that's here. So come on. Everybody get up. Let's go right in front of the stage here. This is what I was told. I follow orders to where you go. Everybody, come on. Right in front of the stage. Let's take one picture.
Stop it.
And again, thank you everybody for being here.